They called it the sunshine element, a miracle cure, a fountain of youth glowing in a little glass vial. It was supposed to cure cancer, restore vitality, even make you beautiful. In the early 20th century, the world was intoxicated by radium. But when the dentist pulled Molly, Maggie's rotting tooth, the entire left side of her jaw came out with it. It didn't bleed. The bone was dead. It was grey, moth-eaten ash. The dentist stared in mute horror, unable to comprehend the crumbled architecture of her face. And the most terrifying part? In the dark examination room, the empty socket in her skull was glowing. A few years earlier, this was the best job a working-class girl could land. The United States Radium Corporation in Orange, New Jersey. The pay was triple what you'd make at the textile mills, and the work was delicate, artistic. It was glamorous. The studio floor was a bright, bustling room filled with the sound of laughter, rustling dresses, and the sweet perfume of young women enjoying their newfound independence. Their job was to paint watch dials for soldiers in the trenches, using a revolutionary new substance called Undark, a paint infused with radium. It allowed the numbers to shine brightly in the pitch black of night. A soldier in muddy, blood-soaked trenches could check the time without lighting a match and giving away his position. The girls felt they were doing their patriotic duty. The girls were told the paint was perfectly safe, beneficial even. Radium was sold in drinking water, in chocolates, in high-end cosmetics. So the girls played with it. They painted their nails, their teeth, and their faces, surprising their boyfriends in the dark like shimmering ghosts. They were known as the Ghost Girls. They walked home at night, their clothes heavily dusted with a fine, invisible powder, glowing under the street lamps like angels. They felt lucky. They had no idea they were already walking corpses. The fatal flaw was in the technique, to get the tiny numbers perfectly sharp. The supervisors taught the girls to point their camel hair brushes with their mouths. The bristles would lose their shape, so the quickest way to restore a fine tip was to roll it between their lips. Lip, dip, paint. Lip, dip, paint. Hundreds of times a day. Every time they put the brush to their lips, they swallowed a minuscule amount of radium. It tasted metallic, slightly gritty on the tongue, but they were told it would give them a healthy glow. The company knew. The scientists in the back laboratories, the men who mixed the Undark wore heavy, lead aprons and used long, ivory-tipped tongs to handle the raw radium. They knew it was a ferocious destroyer of living tissue. But out on the brightly lit studio floor, they told the girls it would put roses in their cheeks. Management turned a blind eye to the toxic dust settling on their hair and skin. By the early 1920s, the glow began to fade into a nightmare. It started with deep, localized aches in the bones, mistaken for rheumatism. Then came severe anemia, an unrelenting fatigue. Teeth began to loosen and fall out one by one, the sockets remaining open, festering wounds that simply refused to heal. Doctors were completely baffled. When the true cause became too obvious to ignore, the company actively suppressed the truth. They paid off medical professionals. They misdiagnosed the dying girls with poor hygiene or, most devastatingly, syphilis, a cruel, calculated smear campaign. That added deep social shame to their unbearable physical agony. families turned away in disgust. Molly Magia was the first to completely fall apart. The radium she had swallowed, chemically similar to calcium, had been absorbed directly into her bones. Her body was building her skeleton with radioactive poison. It was bombarding her from the inside out with alpha radiation, slowly cooking her marrow. Her jaw literally shattered. The tissues in her mouth rotted away while she was still conscious, trapped in a body that was decomposing alive. The metallic smell of decay in her childhood bedroom was reportedly so unbearable that visitors could barely stand to be near her. Molly died in 1922, choking to death on her own blood as her jugular vein suddenly ruptured. She was 24 years old. The company officially stated she died of syphilis. They lied to her grave, protecting their profits over her memory. But then another girl died, and another. The vibrant ghost girls were disappearing into early graves. The realization hit the surviving women with the force of a physical blow. They were all walking around with a ticking time bomb, fused into their own skeletons. The panic was absolute before we witnessed their final, desperate battle for justice. I need to ask you something. Stories like the Radium Girls are often deliberately buried under decades of corporate denial and forgotten history. It takes significant time and resources to dig them up and present them with the unflinching respect they deserve. If you believe these dark stories of human survival and engineering hubris need to be told, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us keep excavating the truth. Led by the fiercely courageous Grace Fryer, 5 of the dying women finally found a lawyer willing to take their impossible case. It was a brutal race against time. The United States Radium Corporation delayed the trial relentlessly, tying up the cords, hoping the women would simply die before they could take the stand. And many of them did. When the trial finally began, the women were so fragile, so broken by the radium eating their spines and limbs, that some could not even raise their right hands to swear the oath. They had to be carried into the courtroom. In 1928, physically destroyed and too sick to continue fighting the appeals, they settled out of court. They received a small lump sum and a meager pension to cover their astronomical medical bills. It wasn't nearly enough to save them, but it was a massive, unprecedented confession of guilt heard around the world. Grace Fryer died in 1933. The last of the original Radium Girls died in the 1980s, having miraculously lived dozens of years longer than any doctor predicted. Her scarred body a profound testament to human resilience. Their unimaginable suffering was not in vain. The massive public outrage from their case directly led to the establishment of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA). Almost every labor safety regulation that protects a worker today was written in the blood and the bone of the Radium Girls. Decades later, when scientists exhumed Molly Magia's body to definitively prove the cause of death and clear her name, they didn't need a flashlight to see her remains in the dirt. After 50 years in the ground, she was still glowing.